Yo, what's going on, Decepticons? Welcome back to another episode of My Virtual Arcade. To all of my music subscribers out there, do not fret if you see a bunch of gaming vids being uploaded. I have not changed my format. Just go to my playlist page and you'll see all of my mixes right there. And if you want to hear something in particular, drop some comments down below and I will try to get to that when I can. Today I'm going to be going over a project that I've been working on for about a year now, and that is my customized Arcade1Up Tron conversion. I started working on this back in January of 2020, believe it or not, right around when the pandemic was about to start off, and I was lucky to grab a used Arcade1Up, and this was actually an asteroids cabinet. But this is it, and I'm just extremely happy with how it came out. This is about 90% complete. There are some things that I need to touch up here and there. We're gonna go over the parts that I need to fine tune, which there are not many, and just give you a quick overview of everything that I have done to this. Here is a closer look at the conversion. I got all of my graphics printed from Arcade1up. I didn't really like what they had in stock. I know that you're able to pick graphics that they have there. What I wanted to do is try and get this to be as close to the arcade cabinet as possible, obviously staying within the limitations of the Gen 1 Arcade1up. So I had to work with obviously some of the spacing here on the side panels and on the frame itself, but I'm really happy with how this came out. What I actually did is downloaded the original artwork online and I customized it in Illustrator. Luckily I was able to grab some vector artwork, so getting all of these little lines, for instance, to replicate what was on the actual arcade cabinet but have them follow the curves of this Arcade1Up cabinet was a lot easier. I know that I only had two choices for this Tron logo right here, and the way that I seen Glenn on Glenn's retro show, I think he had it up like this, kind of a horizontal but from down to up. It's all based on opinion, which way you would do it or which you would prefer, but I just wanted to try something a little bit different. And the best part about this is the Tron logo doesn't have that little pink thing that Glenn's retro show and then a couple others that I've seen with their conversion. I don't know why they got that. I mean, I don't think you're gonna have Disney knocking on your door if you get this original artwork, but I had to get the original. You can even see right here I have the Disney copyright. I'm really impressed with the marquee. Although you do see a little bit of light bleed right here, but it honestly doesn't bother me at all. The aspect ratio, it's 4:3, and that's because this is not a completely dedicated cabinet, but I wanted it to look almost as if it was a dedicated cabinet. I see a bunch of control panels on Tron conversions where they have the spinner ball and a whole bunch of buttons everywhere, and that just looked really bad to me. I understand if people want to have multiple games on here and not just games where you use the light stick or the spinner. But like I said, I wanted to keep it as close to the arcade version as I could. I did make a few adjustments because I wanted to have an extra button for games like Afterburner and anything else that required a second button, as opposed to drilling a fire button into this Tron stick. I didn't want to do any damage to this that could potentially happen, so I just blacked it out and adjusted the graphics just a little bit here to show that there is a button. But other than that, I tried to keep this again as close to the arcade cabinet as possible. I had to bring up all of this, and I think it was the instructions here, and then how to use the joystick and then the buttons. On the real version, they're supposed to be down here, but there's just not enough room to get the aspect ratio of all of this artwork to fit onto this control panel. And then again, I kept this in place just for nostalgia. Like I said, this was an asteroids cabinet originally, and I customized this to fit all of this hardware. This is Glenn's Retro Show Spinner, the GRS spinner, and it works great. The joystick. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. Everybody has their LED turned on. No, I have not forgotten about it, and I know that it does have an LED light, but here's the thing. I left it off because the original arcade cabinet does not have an LED. You gotta remember that these were produced in the early 80s. And the way that they made this glow is the original arcade cabinet had a fluorescent light here. And this is probably the piece of the arcade cabinet that I'm most proud of, because when I created this and when I was working up ideas on how to get this fluorescent light to work, I had no idea. I didn't think that a big fluorescent light tube, a UV light tube, would even fit in here. It's just, there's just not enough space. Look at the corners. So what I ended up doing is I found UV LED strips, and I'm gonna show you what I did. So I have it running here. I actually have a little wedge cut on the side of this corner and over here as well. And right now it seems to be falling a little bit. I need to add some adhesive to that. Part of the small fixes that I need to do. But the second part to making this fluorescent light was this LED diffuser. And these are not that expensive. You'll have to look online because I don't want to give you the amount because I'm probably going to give you the wrong amount, but it's not that expensive. So the difference here is you slap that in there. I have it loose so that I can take it off if there are any issues with the LED strip, or if I need to do any type of adjustments to the control panel, I can just pop it off. It fits in there perfectly. I cut it to size. It probably has at least another 10 more inches when you buy one of these things, but I trimmed it down to size, and I get a nicely replicated fluorescent light. And that is one of the things that stuck out to me the most with the arcade cabinet. I remember when I walked into an arcade, and I must have been about 4 or 5 years old, and I walked in, I'm looking at all of these arcade cabinets, and then there's Tron right there, and I heard the music and the sounds, and I just saw it glowing, and I was just in awe at that cabinet. And when I walked up to it, just blew me away. And that's exactly what I wanted to replicate with this. There's not a lot of space, but I did want to get the graphics in like they did on the arcade cabinet, and I have that here on both sides. Unfortunately, with Arcade1up and a lot of the print places out there, they can't print UV reflective ink. However, I was able to work a little bit of magic with this UV fluorescent light, and you can actually see for yourself. You do get a little bit of responsiveness from that. Obviously, a little bit of help with some extra lights that I have here, but the effect that it gives definitely works. And the second fluorescent light I have is up there, and this is basically the same LED strip. I have it running up here as well. It's all connected. This is the part that I couldn't replicate exactly how I wanted to, because you know the original version has plexiglass, and then behind that it's another piece of plexiglass, and this is transparent, and then it has some type of light feeding through it. This is the best that I could get, was adding this graphic in here, and then I threw this in Photoshop and I basically stretched out the grid. I don't think that's the grid, but let's just call it the grid. I basically stretched it out on both sides just to fill up the rest of the space, because it wanted to include this. And also a lot of the templates for the graphics that I saw online didn't include this for some reason. And with this black light here, it definitely makes this pop a lot. One thing I might do in the future is cut out the back of this section, the board that's in the back, the frame, and maybe run just a plain LED strip so that it illuminates from the back, so you get some of that light. Let's go down to the red buttons. I don't remember exactly how these buttons were, what color they were. So I did a lot of research, and come to find out they were red. And these are actually from the original Arcade1Up. I kept these. I believe it's from my Street Fighter cab. And then I just brought them over into here. I tried to do this on a budget as well. Just trying to save some money here and there. This one I had extra from my Street Fighter kit as well when I upgraded these buttons. And I believe this was an extra yellow button, but I spray painted it black, sanded it, and gave it a nice couple of coats of paint and some sealer. So that thing's gonna be good for a long time. This is another part that a lot of people miss out on when they're doing their arcade cabinet Tron conversion. Why? I don't know. It's honestly not that difficult. And as you can see, this is where I need to tighten things up a little bit as well, because right now I have some light bleed. So I just need to either sand this down or just add some, go over these parts with maybe a black marker or something. This part I'm not too worried about up here because no one looks up here, and I have the same bleed even on the Street Fighter cap. But this part I want to fix. Back to what I was saying, I don't know why people don't have this light down here. Usually they just get this sticker and they put it on this black part and then they call it a day. But that's not how the Tron arcade cabinet was. If you guys remember, they had this illuminated, and I wanted to mimic that as well. And this came out amazing. Plexiglass, and then I just put this on top, and then in the back, LEDs. And then behind that, I have some foil to help reflect the LED strips. So you don't really get a lot of the little LED dots. You do a little bit, but that's completely fine with me. And then to clean it up, I did add the little black nail covers, the nail hole covers, just to give it that clean look. And you can see here the rest, or the other side of the cabinet. One thing I did want to do, but it's too late now unless later on I want to add new artwork. I would probably duplicate this, but I would have these two circles on the riser. That way it'll have a little bit more space, and it'll make the cabinet altogether look a bit taller. That's not a huge importance to me, but it is something that I am thinking about. Okay, and I'm gonna restart the Tron cabinet so you guys can see the intro that I created. This is running on a Pi 4, by the way, if you guys wanted to know. And I'm gonna talk over it just a little bit, just to avoid any copyrights from Disney with the music, because they are pretty strict with that on YouTube. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the sound on the intro is a little pixelated, and I have read that people have that issue with Pi 4 and MP4s. So I'm still doing a little bit of research on that to see how I can fix it. But I basically got the original Tron intro, and then a scene from when he gets sucked into the grid, and it just spliced those scenes together, and there it is. That's the intro. And then it pops right into the menu. Another thing that I need to fix is the aspect ratio on this menu theme. And I think that this is supposed to be in 1080p, so I think that's why I get a egg instead of a sunset. But besides that, no worries. I have about 35 games on here, and they all obviously use either the joystick or the spinner. So we're gonna try Tron first, obviously because we're on the Tron cabinet. Oh, and I did follow ETA Prime's tutorial. It's basically the same as far as installing the Pi and getting all the buttons connected. However, I want to give my buddy Lud a huge thanks, because without him, the whole Pi wouldn't be complete. Like, I mean, it was so difficult because it had issues connecting the spinner and the Tron stick and getting a lot of the games to recognize the buttons, and all of the games are different, so having to go through the different emulators and having to have all of the buttons set up correctly was just, it was a big headache. So he really came to help me out a lot with that. So Lud, buddy, if you're listening, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. I got the coin buttons right there. I actually got those for Christmas, so that was a nice little addition. I have my keyboard right here on top, and this is only for a few games, I think, that are just in MAME 2010, where I just have to add in the coins with 5 and then 1 to start. And then once that's done, just put this up here. Here we go. Darn, I wanted the light cycles. Everybody loves light cycles. But we'll just get this guy out of the way real quick. Okay, this isn't quick. He's gonna kill me. This one I still kind of like though. I want my points. Come on, light cycle. Yes. And I really like this one too. This sound brings back a lot of memories from the 80s. I want my points. So you guys notice that the joystick also does turn a little bit for some reason. It's not locking in a place like it's supposed to. I followed the GRS tutorial and it's just not doing it, so I have to find another method to get this thing locked in. So you might see some twisting here and there. Like I said, this is 90% done. I'm gonna kill this dude. Alright. Now we're gonna move on to Discs of Tron. So I'm gonna escape out of here. Oh, and by the way, I got a really good soundtrack in the background. My buddy added, geez, I don't know, 50 Synthwave songs. And it's just in a continuous loop. They play randomly. Okay. Discs of Tron I don't have in its exact aspect ratio, but I kind of like it like this. You guys let me know though, should I put it back to the original aspect ratio or keep it as 4:3? I like it because I was actually able to get the background of this game, which is a separate file from the ROM itself. Alright, let's see if I can at least knock this first guy down. Well, I should be able to get this guy down. Yeah, pretty simple. I know there's a block button too, but like I said, I'm having issues in MAME 2010 getting all the buttons set up. So the block button should be this, but for some reason, it always freezes up when I try to set it. So I just gotta deal with throwing the disc to deflect the enemy's disc. Yeah, alright. One more. Done. Alright, here we are with Night Striker, one of my favorite games that came out in 1989, and it's based in the future of 1990X, something like that. It's still in the 90s, but it was supposed to be in the future, which you know how that was in the 80s. But we're gonna go ahead and insert a coin. I love the style of this game, the artwork, the art style, the music. So badass. Alright. It's kind of like Space Harrier, but it's not made by Sega. I do have Space Harrier on here though, and that game is fun too, and the controls great. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for taking the time to check out my Tron custom conversion on this Arcade1Up. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. And if you guys want to see me play any other games on here, testing games out on this Tron cabinet, let me know. Leave your comments down in the comment section below, and I will respond when I can. I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace. Oh yeah, stage 8 complete.